Hi everyone, today we will discuss the Essay 3 and Annotated Bibliography assignments. These are two of the last major written assignments for the course. They are worth quite a lot in terms of your overall course grade, so I thought it would be a good idea to record this video in a way that you can reference back to it throughout the term. For the recordings in Canvas, they are automatically deleted by the program after 2 weeks, so this you will be able to reference for the rest of the semester, which I thought would be a little bit more helpful. All right, so let's dig in. So we are going to focus on the Essay 3 and Annotated Bibliography modules today. Additionally, any discussion of sources can be supported with the use of these two links in your course. This is a direct link to the library's homepage, and that includes the OneSearch search option. And this is a direct link to the Opposing Viewpoints database provided on the library's homepage as well. For today's purposes and as per the syllabus schedule, we will discuss the assignment document and the method. We will also discuss the annotated bibliography assignment document, and we'll have a brief overview of the method here as well, but we will cover more information on the annotated bibliography as we work through this assignment. To begin, let's discuss the Essay 3, which is the Toulmin method essay assignment document. The genre, as with all assignments in this course, is focused on persuasive writing or argument. The essay length is 5 pages. The number of sources is also 5. And your assignment says this: write a research essay using the Toulmin method with 5 scholarly sources. You can read through the student learning outcomes on both assignment documents on your own time. The Toulmin method essay consists of various components, which we will discuss momentarily. You can see the list on this document currently. And regarding sources, we will focus on scholarly peer-reviewed journal articles for this assignment. This means that you should select a topic that is academic in nature, and you should conduct all of your research in the Limestone University databases. While you certainly don't have to use the OneSearch system or the Opposing Viewpoints database, as there are many different databases, including multi-subject databases available on the Limestone University Library website, those are recommended for ease of access. Additionally, the OneSearch system, as you all know from our extensive discussion in class and via our modules in Canvas, the OneSearch system will allow you to search a wide variety of databases at the exact same time. For the scholarly peer-reviewed journal articles that you select as support for your argument in this essay, they should be published in the last 5 years as a general guideline. Additionally, you should utilize sources throughout the essay to help you present the backing for the qualifier and warrant, the grounds for the claim, and the counter-argument with rebuttal. Next, let's review the annotated bibliography assignment document. On this document, the most important aspect is that this focuses on citing and evaluating the sources for Essay 3. The goal of writing an annotation is to show your knowledge of the source by providing a brief summary, show that your source is credible by providing a brief evaluation, and to show how the source works in your essay. In other words, you will explain why you chose the source or how you use the source in Essay 3. You can see a bulleted list of what each annotation should include on this document. Let's begin our discussion of the method. The Toulmin method was created by Stephen Toulmin. It was proposed in 1958 in the Uses of Argument textbook. It is based on a courtroom model. It was also created for students like all of you in a class like this. The goal of this method is to help students think about argument and to think about persuasion and to think about convincing a specific audience. The Toulmin method provides us with additional information that is going to help us round out our full semester discussion of argument. In addition to the purpose of the method, it's probably important to consider when this method was proposed. This is a relatively new or modern perspective on argument, though it certainly builds on classical argument such as Aristotelian rhetoric. To imagine the model, take a few minutes to imagine why this method is based on a courtroom model and what that means in terms of your role as the author and how you address your audience. If you need additional time to consider these questions, please pause the video. This is also a flexible model. You can use this model or method with any form of reasoning, including deductive, inductive, empirical, ideological, and so on. We will also use this model to build on our knowledge from Essay 1 and Essay 2. We will do this by using rhetorical appeals to create a logical, trustworthy, or credible argument that utilizes emotional appeals sparingly and with a specific purpose. You will utilize your understanding of conducting research synthesis to present an in-depth discussion of your support and evidence for your claim, which is your thesis statement. You will also continue to practice looking at different perspectives of an argument. In this case, it is going to be more similar to Essay 1 as opposed to Essay 2 in the sense that you will offer a refutation to a counterargument. Ultimately, this will allow for continued growth in terms of your understanding of the complexity of argument. Argument is not just fighting. Argument is something that is logical. It's something that utilizes evidence and information to present a quality argument that could be persuasive. This method will also allow you to show continued growth by developing a more in-depth claim for your argument. The first component of the Toulmin method is the claim. What we know thus far is that a claim is your thesis statement and it is what you aim to prove. This remains true in the Toulmin method. The second component of the Toulmin method is the qualifier. Claims are typically qualified. The qualifier is the language that you use to clarify, specify, or narrow the scope of your claim. The third component of the Toulmin method is the warrant. This allows you to connect the claim to the grounds. This is how you create a connection between the support or evidence and the claim of the argument, which again is your stance or your thesis. Ultimately, this method requires that we conduct a bit more of a critical thinking process than Essay 1 because it is going to ask you to directly include information on or discuss or include support for why your grounds, which would be your supporting evidence, the information that's presented in body paragraphs of a persuasive essay, actually fits or works to support your claim. The fourth component or step of the Toulmin method is the backing. This is the support for the warrant. View this as your explanation of your support or evidence. The Toulmin method, unlike the first method and the second method we've used in this course, requires that you provide support throughout the entire document, meaning that you are doing more than just supporting your reasoning. You are supporting your thesis statement directly. You're supporting your warrant directly. You're showing that strong connection. You're also justifying that your argument is worth talking about. The fifth step is a step that we already know from Essay 1, and it is the grounds. This is the support or evidence for your claim. This is how you prove your claim. It's your ability to argue rhetorically and to provide research or evidence. And we also know about a rebuttal as well. We talked about this extensively with the first assignment, and the rebuttal is the consideration of an opposing viewpoint with a response. Unlike Essay 2, you are not going to look at two different perspectives equally, but rather utilize your research and the synthesis of that research to gain a good understanding of your argument so that you can anticipate a reader's questions or an opposing viewpoint that may exist to your topic or to your stance. You will acknowledge an opposing viewpoint and offer direct support or evidence for that viewpoint, and then present a rebuttal. In the Essay 3 module where you can access this document, you can click on the link that is provided here. The following slides are adapted from the article linked here. So if you would like to review that, open this document in the module itself. We're going to take a look at a sample topic, and we're going to apply questions that help us work through the different components. So for the first one, we're going to ask the question of, what position do I want my audience to take? This leads you to the claim. As an example, our claim for today will be, a 15% service charge should be added to each check in lieu of tipping. And of course, this would take place in a restaurant or a place where you would order a meal. Our claim is determined by asking ourselves the question, what position do I want my audience to take? So we want our audience, or we want our reader, to take the position that a 15% service charge should be added, meaning that it is both a good and okay idea. The next question that we will pose to ourselves in our pre-writing process is, what are my reasons? This leads to the grounds. So what you might notice here is that we've listed 6 components for the method, and our questions aren't going to follow in that order that was previously listed 1 through 6. Instead, our questions are going to focus more on a practical application of these steps. So as you're reviewing these slides and as you go through this assignment process, I don't want you to think too much about the order in which the components are listed 1 through 6. They simply have to be listed in an order. Instead, I want you to think about your pre-writing process and how you are going to best think through or participate in that critical thinking exercise of establishing your argument. And so what you'll notice is that the first thing I would suggest is that you figure out what your claim is. What position do you want the audience to take? The second thing I'm suggesting here is that you figure out what your reasons are or what the grounds are to support your argument. This is where a lot of the writing takes place in the body of the essay. So this is a really important component, which is another reason that it is typically fruitful to consider this question as an early step in that pre-writing process. For our example, our grounds might be that treating employees well will help retain them, that this, meaning the 15% service charge in lieu of tipping, can help provide servers a more consistent rate of pay. And people, in this case meaning customers, don't have to worry about tipping. What you'll see in this example is that there are 3 different reasons that aim to prove or to justify why our claim is a good idea to implement. The third question I would suggest that you ask is, what is the linking idea between the claim and the grounds? This becomes the warrant. The warrant is a new concept. In the case of this example, the warrant might be that this can make all parties involved happier, including the business owner, the employees, and the customers. What you might note is that this shows that you are thinking critically about who your argument or who your claim affects and what impact that claim or that change to the 15% service charge might have on the individual parties involved. So you'll note that this argument, when we illustrate our warrant through this single sentence, we're taking just a little bit of time to say, okay, our argument isn't just about the employees or the customers. We're not focused just on the business owner. We are thinking in a well-rounded sense, and we are thinking about an argument that would work best for the business practice that we're discussing. The fourth question that I would suggest that you ask yourself as you go through this writing process is the move from the grounds to the warrant factual? This is the backing, right? So backing provides direct support for the warrant. So if we want to argue that this process will make all parties involved happier, including the business owner, the employees, and the customers, we really need to do some research to back that statement up. In order to do that, we would start our research process pretty early. We're not going to wait until we have our full argument written. We're going to dive into research early enough so that we understand and that we can show that our claim, our grounds, and our warrant, that connection between the two, is supported with research. So in this case, we might say research shows that creating a positive work environment creates a more positive experience for customers, which results in return customers. This provides an implied support for both the server and the business owner. A return customer absolutely means additional business. It also means a good reputation. Additional business and a good reputation for an individual company or business is typically going to result in a lot of positive things. So what we would do with this is we would look for research that supports this. Of course, we would need to include a citation. For the sake of today's example, we won't be going through different sources for this topic, but you will cite your sources. The fifth question that I would suggest you ask is, what counterarguments exist and are they valid? This starts your rebuttal section. A rebuttal might be, however, a positive work environment and customer experience are not the only keys to success. Logically, we most likely could come to this statement on our own. It takes more than just a good, fun experience to create a successful business. What we want to do from here, if we were to elaborate on this in a full and complete essay, is to provide additional research to support this statement, which means we need to outline other keys to success. And then we need to respond to that. The last question I would suggest that you ask is, do I need to qualify my argument further? So this is the qualifier. Our qualifier might be, thus, while not the only necessary step to creating a successful business, I think we're missing a word there, my apologies, this is a step in the right direction. This allows us to make our argument without making a fringe argument that a gratuity charge or a service charge is going to solve all problems. It also allows us to narrow the scope of our argument. Our argument acknowledges that there are other aspects or steps to creating a successful business. And that's really great, but this essay is going to focus on just this one singular step. So throughout this example, what you might notice is that the pre-writing process, the critical thinking process for this assignment is going to take you through all of these different questions so that you can kind of map out your argument in a way that allows you to write your argument in detail. You know what you're going to argue. Now you need to illustrate it. It also is going to help you think about how you're supporting each statement with research, as opposed to incorporating a source one time in each body paragraph, which many of us may have practiced with the Essay 1 assignment, and as opposed to looking directly at two separate opposing viewpoints, which is what we practiced with the Essay 2 assignment. What we're doing here is we're starting to put together the idea that our research is so integral to our argument that we need it in every single piece. If you're interested in a condensed discussion that provides additional examples of the Toulmin method, in your Essay 3 module where you locate this document, you can click on this link directly and go to the OWL at Purdue website, where you will find a new example that helps us understand the Toulmin method argument. Now we will take a few moments to learn more about the annotated bibliography. In your annotated bibliography module and on a future virtual day, you will watch the video linked here, which is what is an annotated bibliography. For today's purposes, I will briefly explain and then show you an example. As noted earlier when discussing the assignment document itself, the annotated bibliography takes the place of a works cited page. It provides you with completed bibliographic entry of each source that you cite. It also is going to include something called an annotation. An annotation, or to annotate, means to make note. So what you're being asked to do here is to make notes about your sources. I typically explain this as thinking about research like you think about a math problem. In a math class, if you are working a proof or working through a problem, you can't just find the right answer. You have to show the work or show the steps that you took to achieve or to find the right answer. This is similar in the sense that I want you to take the time to write a brief paragraph on each source that shows that, one, you read and comprehended the source material. To do this, summarize each source in 2 to 3 sentences. Next step is to show that you thought about evaluating the source and you went through an evaluation process. To do this, write an evaluation of each source in 2 to 3 sentences. You can utilize the evaluation materials discussed earlier in the term, which are all available in Canvas. The last step of each annotation, so after you cite the source with the completed bibliographic entry, provide the summary and evaluation, you will then show your thought process on why you picked the source or how you used the source in your paper. In a sense, this helps close the annotation, and it helps show that you used the source and didn't just find it because you had to. Next, we will look at an example of a completed annotation. This is going to be a single annotation, not a full bibliography, so we are looking at just one source and one annotation of that source. I'm going to zoom in so that we can see this better. Now that we've zoomed in, what we can see here is that we have a citation at the beginning of the entry, a brief summary, evaluation, and discussion of use. A few things that I want to point out here is that writing an annotation is not the same as writing an essay. This is an individual paragraph focused on the individual source. We'll note that you are not including a full essay on each source. You are only writing one brief paragraph on the source itself. Ultimately, don't overwhelm yourself with the annotated bibliography. This is a really simple process. Ultimately, if you're conducting research in a timely manner, meaning that you're being efficient and allowing yourself enough time to work on this, what you will probably find is that this is just a logical next step. You most likely will complete future annotated bibliographies, So what you'll see here is that this article is entitled New Device May Help Prevent Texting While Driving. It was published in Car and Driver magazine and was located in a database. In the summary, you will see that there's a direct statement of the article's content. It states that this article discusses a new safety device, and it goes on to state that the magazine reviewed and tested the product. The evaluation will note here that this discusses the author's credentials by stating that the author, who is Sue Smith, is a staff journalist with the magazine itself, and the magazine is a well-known magazine focused on reviews of car products. So ultimately, it makes sense that this magazine discussed this product. It's logical, and that lends to their credibility. The evaluation goes on to state that this publication has over 50 years of experience, which is another way to say that it's a reliable source. For the discussion of use, you will notice that this section is written in first-person perspective, and that is the logical choice because you are being asked to discuss why you chose the source yourself. It would be a little awkward if you wrote in third-person perspective here. So while your essay should be written in third-person perspective, your discussion of use, which appears in individual annotations on the annotated bibliography, can be written in first-person perspective. What you'll note here is that, again, there are just direct statements. This article provides information on a product that I'm arguing could be part of a better solution. I will use this article as my basis to argue that having So you'll notice, again, first-person perspective and very direct statements. This article gives me this type of information, and I use this article to do this in my essay. As we go through the remainder of the semester, we will look at a more complete example of an annotated bibliography as well. If you have additional questions on this assignment, we will be going through topics in the discussion board today, and we will also be going through topics next week as well. We will continue our understanding of this assignment as a whole as we progress through the rest of the semester. In the meantime, though, feel free to reach out via email or request a Zoom meeting if you prefer.